Being on the road at these early hours of the morning is dangerous. Now, they've just about cleaned this up, but you can see that car crashed into something with a drunk. It's completely totaled. Unbelievable. That's someone probably coming home from a 5 a.m. bar, or a 5 a.m. bar closer crashed into them, one or the other. I tell you, friends don't let friends drive drunk. I mean, that is just awful. I hope everyone's okay and no one was hurt. But that's a pretty bad accident. Right in front of my Starbucks. And that car's right to the junkyard, completely totaled. Welcome, everyone. All right, now let's go have some coffee. I want to talk about these lunatic, and that's what they are, Ukraine protesters. They are threatening J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance and his family had to be taken to a secure location yesterday at a ski resort in Vermont because of these Ukraine protesters. Let's see, which one of these? This one here. Okay. And we're going to talk about this because some crazy things are happening. But first, I got to get set up with my coffee. Can't start the day without coffee. Welcome, everyone. My name's Brian, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. And here we are in front of a pretty bad car accident. So these Ukraine protesters, the ones in Vermont that were threatening J.D. Vance yesterday, and also the ones in New York. Now, for the life of me, now maybe you guys have some other examples. When have we seen people march in the streets of America for a war? You understand what I mean? They're protesting for a war to continue. By the way, a war that none of them are involved in. None of them are risking anything. None of them are volunteering for the Ukrainian army. Okay, none of them are going to Ukraine. So why are people protesting for a war? And there's a lot of them. Yeah, lunatic liberals. Yeah, but it's pretty twisted when you. And I don't know if any of them have really thought about it that much. And yesterday morning, I want to go through it again now. For those that weren't here yesterday, I'll go through a more Reader's Digest capsulized version of it. But President Trump offered an incredible peace plan, the best peace plan ever. People say money. The USAID protest money's been cut off. I don't know who's funding this. But it's, the way they behaved with the vice president and his family in Vermont, they think that's going to get them what they want. Why would you protest against stopping a war? Think about that. They're protesting against stopping death, destruction, war, bombs, rockets, missiles. And President Trump told Zelensky straight up yesterday, you're playing around with World War III. And Zelensky, it's like he didn't even hear it. You're playing around with World War III. Maybe his translator should have translated that to him in Ukrainian. So President Trump's peace plan that I went over yesterday in a lot of detail in this very spot without the sirens was this. He made an incredible deal. Give us the mineral rights in Ukraine to Zelensky. And it's not, and that serves some incredible purposes. It does. One of the purposes is, of course, to pay the United States back for the endless money we've been giving Ukraine. But the greater purpose it serves, even more so than that, those resources are in eastern Ukraine on the Russia side of the Ukrainian border. Okay? So what that would do is put American companies and American workers in very large numbers in that area. They'd be working there, living there, their kids would be there, they would have schools. And it's almost like a it's much like the DMZ that we have in Korea, the 38th parallel. But that's a military thing going on there that's been there for before most of us were born. This is a non-military, non-fortified, very effective DMZ. Because without it, without the Americans living and working in eastern Ukraine on the Russian side of the country, there's going to be nonstop skirmishes between Russia and Ukraine till doomsday. Ukraine, it's like Israel and the Palestinian terrorists in Gaza. Nothing's ever going to stop that. They're all the Palestinians are always going to be trying to kill Jews. There's nothing you can do to stop it. That's why Trump wants to relocate everyone in Gaza to Egypt and stuff. So that's the situation. So if you have those Americans living and working there with their families, with their children and everything else, Russia's never going to attack over there because they don't want to kill Americans, especially American civilians. And it's a beautiful idea. And it saves Ukraine. Ukraine is on the verge of collapse. They can now win. The United States has now withdrawn all financial support to Ukraine. They got what they got. So when they burn through what they got, they're not getting any more. So far as England yesterday, the UK, this psycho that they have as the prime minister, Americans, we typically don't care about the prime ministers of England, okay? We care about Margaret Thatcher and Winston Churchill. That's it, okay? And Tony Blair's just a corrupt asshole, okay? It's just, So, yeah, exactly, Tony Blair. But we don't care. But this guy that they got now that signed this deal with Zelensky that I don't think he can deliver on at all, I was very disturbed. He is an atheist. What the hell? Are there people in the UK here? What are your thoughts in the UK of having an atheist as your prime minister? What the hell? So he doesn't believe in anything except immediate selfishness here on earth. All he cares about is pleasing himself while he's on earth. He's an atheist. Once you're dead, there's nothing. How could you put someone with that type? The prime minister, the British prime minister, is an atheist. Why would you in the UK put a guy who only cares about satisfying himself here on earth, doesn't believe there's anything after, run your country? I know there's a lot of atheists in England. Ricky Gervais, one of the funniest men alive. I don't watch his work anymore. As brilliant as he is, when I found out he was an atheist, atheism is evil. Evil. Yeah, I don't know if most of the UK is atheist. I know their celebrities. I wouldn't want to judge the UK based on their celebrities. Would you want to base America on our celebrities and liberals? I don't think so. I don't buy that most people in the UK are atheist. I believe that they are very vocal, the atheists over there. This has nothing to do with religion. It's very dangerous to have a leader of a country that is an atheist. Very dangerous. So, but anyway, with that being said, do you know in the United States, when have you seen people in the streets protesting against peace? I've never seen it before. These Democrats, these liberals are sickos. They're psychos. President Trump came up with the perfect way to end this war. Both sides are going to have to give a little bit. That's it. Okay? Both sides are going to have to give a little bit. I'm sorry, Zelensky, who's like it's like dealing with Zelensky. And this is, President Trump, what he did in the White House the other day was show the true personality, the true face of Zelensky to the world. Negotiating with Zelensky is like trying to have a negotiation with Greta Thunberg. Psychos. It's not possible. I would say the people of Ukraine are probably ready for peace too. Wouldn't you? We really don't know what they think because freedom of speech and the press and the opposition political parties have been outlawed, and Zelensky hasn't had an election even though his term is up. But I find it hard to believe that there's people in Ukraine who have not lost someone that they know or in their family to this war. Now, I've heard that 4% approval rating. And if you're just joining us at the beginning of the stream, the sirens, there was a pretty bad car accident they're cleaning up, and one of the cars involved had to be a drunk. At least one of them, no doubt. I didn't see the other car, just that car. Just a mess. It was up on the median, so he, but he hit something, and it wasn't that tree, that palm tree that it is from. It's kind of small. Greta has the mind of a 14-year-old. Greta has the mind of a 14-year-old who is insane, and so does Zelensky. Boy, I got in there so quick because right after me, a whole group of like 12 people walked in. I got there just in time. If I'd have been a minute later. Well, thank you, Deanna. I appreciate that. If you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to thought. I'm sorry, I'm still waking up here, so you know how it is in the morning. All your sinuses drain and everything, so my apologies. Plus, it's really cold here in South Florida. It is 59 degrees, or at least it was right before I started the stream. Yeah, he called JD a bitch in Russian. Absolutely. Absolutely. But, Katina, there's that just because you have the notifications clicked does not mean you get all of the notifications. That's the way that the algorithm of YouTube works. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I do so many videos. Oh, no, this is the dead of winter for us in Florida. The dead of winter. I had to wear socks even. This is the cold spell in sunny South Florida. Now, yesterday afternoon, I did a live stream. I talked about the threat with the at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. I'll go over that too again with you just a little bit. But I went through all the details yesterday. Yesterday morning, around 11, and then it happened at 12-ish and 1-ish. I was at home doing things at home, and since it's so cold, I had the back door open, and we could hear jets flying over, pretty low. So I went outside, and they were fighter jets, fighters. And not only were they flying low, they were flying fast. They weren't going supersonic, but they were flying pretty close to it. And they were really doing some strange maneuvering. They were flying in like right on the side, bank turns, in this very wide circle over my house, around my house, and then they split off in a couple directions. One went directly northwest to Mar-a-Lago. One went pretty much due north, and that's the Trump National Golf Course where the president was. And happened 3 times yesterday. Some civilian planes went into the restricted airspace of Mar-a-Lago, and they scrambled F-16 fighters. Now, when it was going on, I didn't know what I assumed it had something to do with the president, because fighters aren't flying over. In fact, planes don't fly over my house that much. Although when the president's in town, they changed the flight patterns a little bit, and some planes from a private executive airport fly over my house a little bit more often when Trump's in town. But I didn't know what had happened at the time, and then later in the afternoon, it was being reported on X and in the Daily Mail that 3 planes entered restricted airspace around Mar-a-Lago. So they scrambled the fighter jets, and they actually used flares to get the attention of them. I haven't seen any updates on the planes this morning. I've heard some rumor things, but on social media, but nothing reported factual about if it was just a mistake. But three, I don't know how that's possible. 3 different instances, 3 aircraft, 3 different instances. So that sounds too coincidental to just be an accident. But the way the planes were flying, doing these strange maneuvers, it was almost like they were looking for something. You know, like I guess they have a contact where it is, but then they were looking. It was very strange because I've seen this happen before, and they normally just fly full speed, supersonic to Mar-a-Lago, but they were flying very fast, not supersonic, and were in this strange pattern, and it was a big one too. Very low over residential areas, and I'm assuming they were armed. But I'd like to know details about the aircraft, because it happened once, around 11, around 12, and around 1. The exact times are a little unclear because, I was just hanging out doing stuff at home. Unfortunately, I don't have any video of it because it happened. I just went out in my backyard, and then one time I went out in my front yard. I wasn't expecting. I didn't have my camera or phone with me, and they're flying so fast. If I would have gone to get my phone or camera, I would have missed it. But I saw it with my eyes. But no updates that confirm with the planes who were in them. I'm sure they were greeted by federal agents when they landed. Well, Megan Kelly, Pam Bondi, she said yesterday they're going to fire. I'm behind on my coffee. They're going to fire the official that didn't hand over the records. I'm going to tell you this about the person should be arrested for obstruction, but I'm going to tell you this about the Epstein files, okay? There's nothing in them. The Epstein files that the government have, that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are going to get, have nothing in them. There'll be some new things, but it's really nothing. Anything that was of value or embarrassing to politicians and corporate people and celebrities, the government has that as an addition to the updated J. Edgar Hoover files, okay? They got whatever they got. If he had videotapes and audio tapes and photographs, the government has that, okay? The government has that. It's in their possession if they were able to retrieve it. And I haven't talked a lot about the Epstein file. I have this week because all this has been going on, but I haven't talked a lot about it before because I know there's nothing in there. If he had anything, the feds took it, and they're keeping it in their blackmail file that they use to get Supreme Court justices and senators and things to play ball with them. That's it, okay? So there's nothing there that's going to, what do they say, move the needle, okay? And so many people have put a vested interest in this. Now, I was watching, and I know some of you disagree with this, but there's a lot of anti-Semitism going on. Full disclosure, I'm not a Jew, okay? You don't have to be a Jew to support Israel. I'm a strong supporter of Israel. But anti-Semitism is very strong out there, and I was talking about redacted, and most people that are anti-Semitic don't realize it, okay? And, and some of it's more obvious than others, like Candace Owens, hardcore anti-Semite. She hates Jews. She just does. I mean, there's no getting around that. But redacted, they were they were talking when the conservative influencers came out like a bunch of clowns and made fools out of themselves, holding up a binder with nothing new in it. Redacted suggested, they said, there's been a lot of people that have followed the Epstein case. Many have believed that was a Mossad agent, and that maybe these influencers were chosen to get these binders because they're pro-Israel. And then I'm watching, I watched Mark Dice last night from his video yesterday, and he was talking about Mossad, and there's a clip, which I'm gonna play this maybe on my podcast today, of Matt Gaetz saying that he believes a foreign government took out Epstein in jail, working with the cooperation of the U.S. government. And when Matt Gaetz says that, you got to take that a little stronger, because he was in the government until recently. So what Matt Gaetz said very well could be true, that a foreign government was involved in killing Epstein, working with our government. It's very possible. And he thinks it was some type of intelligence agency operation. And I think that's very possible. Very well could be. But my thoughts on Epstein, we don't know, and we're never going to know. But there's unfortunately, and I know some of you are going to disagree with this, there are some conservative influencers. I was shocked at what Redacted was suggesting on Friday. Mark Dice, Candace Owens, they don't like Jews. They don't like Israel. They're anti-Semitic. All of them would deny it, but they don't. And so, sadly, some of that anti-Semitism has made it into our great MAGA movement through people like this. And there may be people in this chat who are telling me, but here, there's nothing in the files. Anything good has been taken, okay, long ago, and put in blackmail files by the deep state. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, no one that is in the government that Trump has brought in or will ever see those things. But I wouldn't assume that Epstein was Mossad. We do know that Israel does spy on us, right? We had the Jonathan Pollard incident, okay? So I'm not saying that Mossad doesn't do spy work against us. They spy on us. We spy on our allies, too. But when it comes to sex, there's a couple recent incidents where sex has been used by governments, okay? The most recent I'll tell you about, and that we know of. The most recent I'll tell you about second. But the first, the Russians do this, okay? The Russians have a long history of using sex and seduction. Remember the Russian agent at the NRA convention a few years ago that they nabbed? Russians use sex. It's maybe one of their biggest things that they do. Maybe that's why Snowden has a Hawaiian tropic girlfriend that's now his wife, right? I don't know. But the Russians definitely use sex and seduction. But so does the United States. Okay? And I give you an example. Look at what Kevin McCarthy did to Madison Cawthorn. Madison Cawthorn was brought down by some very bizarre video clips that Kevin McCarthy is responsible for, and responsible for making them public as well. So I would not assume that Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad. Now, I'm not saying that he wasn't, but I see Mark Dice and Redacted and all these people assume that because Epstein was a Jew. But no, I don't. I would not assume that. He may have been. He may have just been a pervert, rich guy who had these bizarro, sicko, twisted pedo fetishes, and he brought a lot of celebrities in. He was later compromised by one of these intelligence agencies, ours, Israel, Russia. That's possible too. So I would, but I personally believe you just got to get out of your head that anything of substance is ever going to come out in Epstein files. It's just not. Yeah, Andrew Tate's here in Florida right now. I mean, Andrew Tate's another one. Conservatives should have nothing to do with Andrew Tate. There's a Republican club on the Gulf of America, coast of Florida, that invited Andrew Tate to come speak. They need to rescind that invitation. Yeah, fan. So China also, my guess would be is that Epstein was a perv and that had a celebrity fetish as well as his fetish, his other one. And he very well could have been blackmailed or recruited by Russia, Israel, the United States, China. Yeah, forgot about that. Fan. Yeah, exactly. So, but there's the anti-Semitism that some of these conservative influencers have, which is really sad. They always blame the Jews, so they just say Mossad without any evidence. No, he did not live at Mar-a-Lago, and as soon as President Trump found out about his problems, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was a member. I'm not even sure that he was he a member or just went to some of the parties there? And then we're clear about that. But Trump kicked him out as soon as they found out what he was all about. And I know if somebody hasn't said it already, they will, because they do. The trolls always say that Trump was on the flight log. If you look at the flight log, and this is before anybody knew what Jeffrey Epstein was all about. Trump is on the flight log with Marla Maples, Tiffany, and Tiffany's nanny. Big difference, okay? You didn't, people knew. Give me a break. Don't buy any of that. People claim all kinds of crap. Well, regardless, anyone who has any idea that they're going to get something out of the Epstein files, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry to tell you, there's no, and there's no file in there that's going to, or document that's going to, this is it, no. That's either, if there was, it's been destroyed, or it's in the custody of the deep state blackmailers. The ones that go to Justice Roberts when Obamacare's up and get him to change his decision. His opinion on Obamacare. It's in those kind of files. And that's just the way it is. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. I'll have a new podcast at some point today, so click that notification bell. I got a lot to cover. I'm just a realist. There's some things that you just know, like the JFK files. I've been telling you guys, not much is going to come out of the JFK files. There'll be new things, but there's no document that's going to show that our own government killed JFK. The one we're most likely to get things out of would be the RFK. Not even Martin Luther King. The FBI probably, J. Edgar Hoover was probably behind the assassination of Martin Luther King. We know very little about that. And, James Earl Ray fled after. He got away, got pretty far. Excuse me, before they got him. And J. Edgar Hoover did such a job of slandering Martin Luther King. A lot of J. Edgar Hoover's slanders have made their way into the history books. How many of you have heard that Martin Luther King had a white woman that he was screwing in every city that he went to? Total bullshit. That's just slanders that was planted in the public by J. Edgar Hoover, okay, to try to get support for Martin Luther King to be dropped. He was, everything was, but that's in the history books now. And the reason he did that, J. Edgar Hoover, is that Martin Luther King became a problem for him, for Hoover, because he was starting to get so much white support, even in the South. So Hoover thought, well, if we make everyone think he's having sex with white women, he'll lose that support. They'll turn against him. And he started those slanders that are like part of it. It's considered like fact now. Martin Luther King didn't do any of that. I mean, it's absurd. But this is what they do, you know. Mm-hmm. Now, again, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is the most pro-Donald Trump space you will find anywhere. You will never hear me criticize nor disagree with President Trump, and I say that with pride. Yeah, that security breach. I was going to yesterday. I was going to take my MAGA scooter, my Vespa, up to Mar-a-Lago, but I knew after I saw the jets over that the roads would be closed, so I didn't go. And I don't know if I'll be able to today. I'd like to go today, but I got a lot to do, and I got a busy week ahead, so I don't know if I'll have time. But I might. If not, I'll go another day. It's going to warrant. The high today is only 81, which is. Ugh. David says, do you think Trump should have told the press to get out of the Oval Office when that started? No. No. It was perfect. You know, this Gretchen Carlson used to be on Fox, CNN. You know, she's saying that Trump advanced planned it, set the whole thing up. What the hell does Gretchen Carlson know? She's just making crap up. She doesn't know jack, okay? She's the man-hater that took the swimsuit competition out of the, was it Miss America or Miss USA, whichever one she's on the committee of. That's the only reason people watch is for the swimsuit. She's a man-hater, okay? And I don't know how someone so plain-looking became Miss America. Because she's certainly not good enough looking, Gretchen Carlson, to be a Miss America or Miss USA, whichever one she was. It doesn't matter. Both the same thing. Just making crap up. But so what? Even if they did, so what? My favorite, I loved it when Brian Glenn came in and said, Mr. President, why don't you wear a suit? That was just, that's when Zelensky really lost it, because it's like he's kidding. That third just boom. Oh, that was my favorite. That was my favorite. Mm-hmm. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Indeed. We should be allied with Russia. Russia is America's friend. Not Ukraine's friend, but our friend. I mean, look, we have no vested interest in Ukraine. Trump's come up with the perfect peace plan. That's it. Fetterman dresses better than Zelensky. Nah. Fetterman's put a suit on from time to time when it's appropriate. When I went to see the president of Mar-a-Lago, I went out and bought a new suit. I already had suits. I went out and bought a new suit. I bought a new suit. I bought new shoes, a new shirt, a new tie. You know, it's out, and I even got a haircut and shaved. Okay, it's out of respect. Out of respect. I don't wear suits too often either. On the cruise, I wear them once a year on the cruise. I wear a suit, dinner jackets, and stuff like that for dinner. That's it. The United States, someone said you guys dig dictators now. The United States has a long history of working with dictators. Give you a great example. In the Second World War, the United States was allied with two dictators. And we won the war in Europe through our alliance with two dictators. Who were the two dictators? Let's see if people know. Who were the two dictators that the United States was allied with in the Second World War? I'll give you the one everybody knows, Stalin. Who was the other? Stalin's one. Who was the other? There's another dictator. Churchill, correct. Churchill Churchill didn't have elections for how many years? Like 10 years, 8 years, 10 years? That's right. He didn't have elections. Churchill didn't have an election. Obviously, Stalin. So why did we ally with two dictators? And I would put, for the purposes of this discussion, I would consider Churchill a dictator. It's because it was in our interest to ally ourselves with these dictators to accomplish our goal of winning the war. That's what you do. And I got news for you. Stalin's killed a lot more people than Putin. So, would you say that we shouldn't have allied ourselves with Stalin and Churchill in the Second World War? That's crazy. It's America first. America first. And if we have to ally ourselves with a dictator, you do it. Mm-hmm. He's got plenty of our money. He could take some of his own money out of his Swiss and Cayman bank accounts, Zelensky, buy his own suit. Because Ukraine is not a player. That is why. He can borrow his suit from Fauci. Yeah, they're probably about the same size. I got to try my suit on. I've lost so much weight in the last month, I'm not sure my suit's going to fit me. I had to put another hole in my belt yesterday. Boy. That's a loud truck. Well, we've cut off all funding to Ukraine. That's a good start, isn't it? Don't you guys think? Very good start. I'm glad the sun's coming out. It'll warm up. Stalin and Churchill, freedom soup. Freedom soup's a little behind. That's exact, but he's right. Stalin and Churchill, both dictators, and we allied ourselves with them in the Second World War. That is correct. It's America first. You got to do what's best for the United States. Again, make sure you subscribe if you're new. Click that notification bell. New podcast coming later today. That's one of those trucks that you put the trees in when you're doing, landscaping, and it turns it into little wood chips. Very loud. Just use safety pins. I need room for cruises. On our cruises, I have never gained an ounce because I don't take the elevators too much. I'm always walking. And, you do so much walking on the cruises if you don't take the elevators. Why isn't Kathy? It's not that she's not in the podcast anymore. She just hasn't been feeling well enough to do it. The last couple times Kathy was on the podcast, she was lying in bed. So, no, she just hasn't been feeling well. She hasn't been up to doing them. That's why I've been doing them alone. So hopefully she'll be feeling well enough soon, to rejoin me. My vacations are work. It's a listener cruise, Plus, if you've been on the cruises, I'm kind of like the cruise and entertainment director for our group, too. So, it's not... But on the last cruise, I talked about how I had some stalkers that were not in our group that came on the... Here's the truck again. Oh, no, that's a street cleaner. I was going to park behind me. Oh, my goodness. It's a street cleaner. He's cleaning the parking lots. I thought it was wood chipper truck. Look like it. Oh, he's changing the garbage. It's a garbage truck of some kind, too. He's changing the garbage and cleaning the parking lot. Well, if I told you, it wouldn't be a secret, Freedom Soup. I got to decide this week if I'm going to keep losing or not. But the best thing I like about the weight I lost is how much more energy I have. Oh, my goodness. I just feel so much better. Shouldn't have to work on your vacation. If I didn't turn it into a working vacation, I wouldn't have a vacation. Yeah, I had some stalkers on the last cruise that were harassing me. I mean, pretty bad, too. Pretty bad. So, on this one, which I don't like at all, they're going to have ship security with me. Like, which is kind of embarrassing, I tell you the truth. I mean, but you know, and the people that were really terrorizing me on the last trip were some nasty people, nasty people. And I mean, they spent a lot of money to harass me, so I guess they wanted to make sure they got their money's worth, and they, you know. But they're not on this one. We were able to identify them and take care of that. But yeah, and the security on the cruise ships is very highly trained security. Why do I say Ukraine's out of control? Because you have an insane president of Ukraine who will not end the war. President Trump came up with a brilliant peace plan, which I detailed at the beginning of the video. So if you rewind, you can see that. He has suspended elections. His term is up. He suspended freedom of the press. He suspended freedom of speech. And he's also outlawed opposition political parties and political speech. So Zelensky is a little dictator. And you look at these protests yesterday, these protests that are taking place in this country with these lunatics that are protesting to keep a war going. And in Vermont yesterday, these pro-Ukrainian, keep the war going protesters threatened J.D. Vance and his family in Vermont at a ski resort. J.D. Vance, his wife, and his whole family had to be taken to a secure location from these places. An American journalist died in a Ukrainian prison. Putin was elected, but his term of office is over. His term finished, how long ago, guys? Months ago. How long ago did his term end? And there's no election. And he's declared no elections as long as the war's going on. And he's trying to keep the war going on forever and ever and a day. I think the regime change, President Trump started regime change in Ukraine. Did I leave out religion? Yeah, there's no freedom of religion either. Did I leave that off of my list? So that's it. I mean, that's what I mean by out of control. Just to sum it up quickly. Well, the coffee's gone. I'm going to head home. I got a bunch to do today. If you're new to my channel, my name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and if you're already subbed, please like the video, all right?